Hello and welcome to this week's live Monday Music Motivation. I had a couple ideas kind of floating around in my head for this week, so I'm going to kind of organize them all together into this idea about some of the misconceptions when it comes to growth and progress and practice and how this whole clarinet journey should work and how to actually progress on your clarinet and music journey. So the first misconception is the idea that practice makes perfect, right? This is a very, very common one where we hear, practice and eventually you'll be good and you'll know what you need to do on the instrument and be a better musician. If you just keep practicing, the results will come. But this is a little bit of a misnomer, and hopefully most of you know that practice on its own doesn't make perfect. And sometimes we hear this idea of something more along the lines of like, perfect practice makes perfect, but then how do you practice perfectly and all of that stuff. So that's kind of one thing that I want to like shift your perspective on a little bit. Another one is this idea that growth is linear, because it really is not a linear process. And it seems so intuitive that we should be able to kind of do our practice and accomplish this task and be able to do it, then accomplish this task and be able to do it, then accomplish this thing and be able to do it, and being kind of growing in that somewhat linear fashion. But that also is not how growth happens and not how progress happens at all. So with those kind of two things in mind, here's what I actually think is how it works, and this is how growth and progress actually happen. So first, it does happen through practice, but it's not the practicing and it's not the time doing a thing that makes the difference. It's not about getting in 10,000 hours of reps doing something perfectly to then be able to do it. Where the value comes from in practice is the problem solving and figuring out how to fix the issues that are coming up. So the value in practice is not in doing something perfectly. The value in practice is in figuring out why something isn't going perfectly. And what we're doing in all of our practice is we're kind of training our body and developing our sort of ability to control the micro movements and coordinate the things that we need to coordinate to play musically. So when it comes to practicing, when something goes wrong, that's actually pretty valuable because that's data on what not to do. The whole point of practicing is to gather and collect data, and the more aware you can be of the data you're collecting, the more valuable it's going to be. So a very easy way to do that is to solve problems. So anytime you're in your practice, think about what is the problem that's happening and how can I solve it, rather than thinking, well, this is a problem, but if I just do enough reps, it's going to sort itself out. That's not how it works. That's the kind of practice makes perfect. If I just keep practicing, it's going to get better. That's the linear idea of like, well, today I made this many mistakes. Tomorrow I'm going to make this percentage less mistakes, this percentage less mistakes, and I'm going to get better every single day. Or maybe this way, depending on how the video is mirroring. I'm going to get better every single day. That's not how it works at all. Instead, we need to develop our repertoire of problem-solving skills and solutions to problems. That's where the value of practicing is. And I think this really comes up in this idea of professionals versus more beginner players. Professionals make much fewer mistakes and do things at a much higher level. However, professionals still deal with the same mistakes. This morning, before this, I was warming up a little bit and playing Mozart for fun and just kind of running through it, getting warmed up. And I still had moments where when I was supposed to put down two fingers, they didn't line up perfectly, and I got a little of that extra junk, that little blip, kind of in between the notes. So even for professionals, we still deal with the same problems. The same problems come up. We just know how to solve them a whole lot faster. So if you're thinking to yourself, if I practice enough, then eventually I won't have to deal with these problems anymore, I have bad news for you. You're going to always be dealing with more or less the same problems. And that's why I can teach these things so well, because I still am dealing with these problems very, very regularly. So that's kind of a big mindset shift that I think will be very valuable for you to start to process and comprehend. Practice isn't about being able to do a skill. Practice is about figuring out the solutions to the problems around a skill that you're trying to develop. So hopefully that's making sense and gives you a little bit of motivation and inspiration. And you'll see that it's not a linear progress of today I'm going to make less mistakes than I did yesterday. I mean, yes, hopefully, but it's more about today I'm going to be able to fix the mistakes that come up more quickly than yesterday because I know what those solutions are. So hopefully that's been helpful. If this kind of little bit of mindset shift on what it takes to be great and what it takes to progress and move forward on the journey has been helpful, I put a link in the description to a new really in-depth training that I have only as an unlisted YouTube video. I'm probably not going to publish it fully publicly on the channel, so the only way you can watch it is to check that link in the description. It's called The Greatness Zone, and it's a little bit of a case study on Mozart and some other all-time greats, showing how was it actually their talent that made them an all-time great, or was there something else? And I'm going to show you how to accomplish that something else and get into that something else. And this idea of looking for solutions in your practice is one component of that, one part of the greatness zone. So if you found this helpful and interesting, definitely check out that link in the description. It will be really eye-opening for you and give you all of the tools that you need to truly start practicing, moving towards greatness and making progress every time you practice. So check out that training on the Greatness Zone. And then last but not least, now that you're feeling all inspired and motivated, let's take that inspiration and let's put it into a plan with your practice template. There's also a link in the description to go to quickstartclarinet.com/get started, where you can download this along with a ton of other great resources in my free members area, or you can just make it for yourself. This is what it looks like for mine for this week. Date for the week, reflection on how things are going for you, your goal for what you want to accomplish this week, and then your plan for what you're going to do and when you're going to do it to make it happen. So get that filled out, put those times in your calendar so that you commit to it and you keep making progress this week, because even though practice and just practicing on its own isn't going to make perfect, also just thinking about potential solutions to potential problems is also not going to make perfect or lead to greatness. You have to get in there, you have to do the action, you have to make the progress and actually do that productive practicing, spending time in the greatness zone rather than just going through the motions in your practice or not practicing at all. So get your practice template filled out, get it scheduled. In the back of your mind this week, I want you to be thinking about, am I practicing in the greatness zone? Am I finding solutions to the problems that are coming up? Or am I just in the pointless practice trap doing repetitions and hoping that they're going to fix themselves? And if you're in the pointless practice trap, start thinking about solutions to problems so you can get into the greatness zone instead. So have a fantastic week of practicing. Thanks so much for tuning in for this week's Live Monday Music Motivation. And I will see you next week on the next Live Monday Music Motivation. Have a great week, everybody. Happy